Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eliyahu Yisrael Bey. And just because I'm a Bey, that does not mean I'm in total representative of the Moors this evening. I'm a representative of Americans. And I want to share with you something very important that you really need to know. It's about the government's status and your relationship with paying taxes. Next month is April. People are going to be feverishly filing their taxes. There's something that I'd like to share with you, some information, very, very important to you. You really want to know this here because it's something that has been probably speaking to your heart and you haven't been able to find out the truth of the matter, the fact of the matter, the law of the matter. And hopefully the Spirit is going to use me to enlighten you this evening. And I want to start by saying that the reason you became a taxpayer is not because of what you think it is. You became a taxpayer because you volunteered to become one. You volunteered. It's what the IRS called you made an election. Well, what about those people that go to jail? That's because after they make an election and they do not keep their obligation, yes, they go to jail. You made an election. It was by your free will. You used your pen, your hand, and you signed a 1040. But that was around 16 years old when you were in school and you were a minor. You did not have full disclosure, and you were coerced into filing a 1040. That's how you became. Because at the bottom of that 1040, it says where you were supposed to sign, it says, under penalty of perjury, I declare that I have examined this return. What did you know about penalty of perjury at 16? Absolutely nothing. You have examined this return? No, you did not. No 16-year-old examines a return. You don't even know what a return is. Return and accompanying schedules at 16 and statements. What statements could you possibly have understood at 16? Your very first 1040. This is what you call non-disclosure. You didn't have a clue, even who you were at 16. And to the best of my knowledge, what knowledge did you have at 16? And belief, what did you believe at 16? They are true, correct, and complete. What? The returns, the accompanying schedules, and the statements. You believe, to the best of your knowledge, that they were true, correct, and complete. At 16? At 16, that was almost a crime for you to sign this here document. This is how people go to jail. Your parents coerced you, your grandparents coerced them, and so on and so forth. It's this document that gets people in trouble. Signing this is like you took an oath. You lifted your right hand and you swore to This is how you end up in trouble with the IRS and the tax court. When I was a child, first time I seen this here, U.S. individual tax return, it had another word up there. And that word was voluntary. They took that word off. It's not up there anymore. They don't want you to know that this is voluntary, you're filing. Once you sign the first one, you hit. Because from there on, it's continual, it's perpetual. That was an election when you filed that one. That was an election. You elected to do that. It was voluntary. It was voluntary when I was a child. When I was a teenager, it was voluntary. Nothing has changed. It's still voluntary. Young people who are signing last year, their first job, they were 16, 17. It was voluntary then, and it still is voluntary. And still and yet, people think it's mandatory. There's a law somewhere. Well, it is a law for a particular group of people, but not for all the American people of the Republic. That law does not apply to them. It applies to a particular group of people, elected officials and federal employees. Those are the people that it applied to. The two groups that are tax-paying group are basically the American nationals of the Republic. That's us, the 50 states of the Union, when we volunteer in to this private party to pay taxes. That's when we become taxpayers. Prior to that, it was what you call federal national U.S. citizens. These are elected officials and their employees. Federal national U.S. citizens. Those are the two groups. But when we come in, we expand that base exponentially. And we bring in trillions of dollars. We are guests to the party. But we go to jail like we belong there. After giving an election, after giving what the Treasury Department calls a gift or a bequest. You see, the government can't get in trouble because they tell you the truth. They give you the facts, but you just don't know how to read them. They never taught you how to read. And they've written it down. They put it on paper. Your attorney wasn't going to tell you. Nope. CPA wasn't going to tell you. But they're part of the scam. The problem is we don't know the fact of the matter. Not that the government has railroaded us and cheated us. They just left us out there without telling us. They did not give us what's that light that's on the water that flashes around and shows a boat how to come in safely, a lighthouse. That's what the government is supposed to be, a lighthouse. And we're the boats guided in safely by the government. But the lighthouse bulb is blown out. Okay. The United States Supreme Court stipulated by Foley Brothers Incorporated versus Falardo 336 U.S. 281 in 1949 that the canon of construction, which teaches that legislation of Congress, unless a contrary intent appears, is meant to apply only within the territorial jurisdictions of the United States. Within the territorial jurisdictions of the United States. This United States is federal, and the territory is the District of Columbia, D.C. That's the territory. Is a valid approach whereby unexpressed congressional intent may be concerned. It is based on the assumption that Congress is primarily concerned with domestic conditions. Based on the assumption, Westlaw provided the following summary of the Foley Brothers Incorporation versus Falardo case. It is a well-established principle of law that all federal regulations, statutes, quote unquote, apply only within the territorial jurisdictions of the United States. Territorial jurisdictions, D.C., federal. This United States here means federal. It doesn't mean America. It doesn't mean the 50 states. The District of Columbia, unless a contrary intent appears. If you listen to the words of the government, you will get a real education. The education you should have got when you graduated from high school. Meaning, if implementing regulations are published in the Federal Register, all implementing regulations, laws, they're not laws until they put in the public registry, the Federal Registry. If they're not in the Federal Registry, they're not law, because there can be no law that the public does not know about, that has not been made public. The public is not bound to secret laws that's never come forward into the light. We're not bound by those. The public, the registry. And guess who's not registered in the Federal Registry? The Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. They're not registered. The Internal Revenue Service operates under Title 26, the Internal Revenue Code, statutory laws, and its lesser-known administrative approvals, procedural, and implementing regulations regarding federal income taxation found in Title 26 Code of Federal Regulations. The federal statutes and regulations used by the Internal Revenue Service are applicable only within the territorial D.C., District of Columbia, and its 10-mile radius, and legislative jurisdictions of the District of Columbia per the U.S. Supreme Court. You see, it has territorial jurisdiction over its enclave, its territories. Guam, Puerto Rico, Somalia, Somalia America, so on and so forth. Those little territories. Thus, the IRS statutes and regulations are specifically limited to their geographical jurisdictions. And that's not the 50 states of the Republic, as well as the legislative jurisdiction for the application toward those who are proper federal taxpayers. Proper federal taxpayers. Proper. So there's a thing, the opposite of proper is improper. There are proper taxpayers and there are improper. Or proper taxpayers and non-proper. As expressed in the RRC at 26 USC 7701 A14. The limited geographical DC and a 10-mile radius and its territories and enclaves, and legislative jurisdiction for IRS statutes and regulations is restricted to the District of Columbia by the legislative intent of the 16th Amendment, which is what the IRS always sends you out, that little pamphlet talking about you're obligated to the 16th Amendment. The 16th Amendment, yes. Those proper taxpayers. You see, they sent out a lot of their pamphlets to non-taxpayers who have elected to become taxpayers. And now the IRS holds you perpetually obligated. And that's why something in your spirit says, this ain't right. How did I get stuck in this? Statutory taxpayers, woo. It's a beautiful thing when you learn a definition of words. Are defined to mean any person subject to any internal revenue tax. That was a mouthful. The statutory term person, as defined at 26 USC 7701 A1, refers only to statutory legal fictions. Oh, a statutory legal fiction? That's a non-person. It's not a real person. So who could be a statutory legal fiction? Who could be an unreal person that they're talking about? You know you're a real, living, breathing person. I know I'm a living, breathing person. So who are they talking about? Created by and under the dominion of the U.S. Congress. Congress creates statutory legal fictions under their dominion. The statutory term subject to means under the dominion and control of the national government. The federal government. Congress is federal. It creates legal statutory fictions and it puts them under the obligation of the federal government. That's not talking about the American people of the 50 states of the Union of the Republic for which it stands. We're not a democracy. We are a republic. Established by the Constitution, the American people are the sovereigns. Ooh. The American people are sovereigns? That's established by the Constitution. The Supreme Court is saying that. We're sovereigns. You know why we're sovereigns? Because laws come from we the people. That's how powerful we are. We the people. That's how powerful we are. We make laws. You ever been in a courtroom where the jury comes in and everybody's asked to stand? Because they're the most powerful people in the room at that point. The law, the decision and the law stops with them. They don't know it though. They have no idea how powerful they are. Juries are very powerful. Grand juries are very powerful. The buck stops with them, not the judge. The buck stops with them, but they don't know it. Established by the Constitution, the American people are the sovereign. Established by the Constitution, the American people are the sovereigns. It's a fact. In America right now today, if you say you're sovereign, they'll call a SWAT team in on you. Drag you out. That's a dirty word. That's a word of a terrorist. You're a sovereign. Well, it's in the Constitution. As such, the United States Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court has declared in Yick, Y-I-C-K, Woe, W-O, versus Hopkins, 118, U.S. 356 of 1886, that sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to the law, for it is the author and the source of the law. A sovereign is not subject to the law. Wait a minute. What are you saying? Are you saying that sovereigns are above the law? I'm saying what the law says. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to the law, for it is the author and source of the law. We the people make the law. We are sovereign because we make the law. Oh, you think the lawmakers make the law, don't you? Why do you think they beg so hard to get your vote? That's how powerful you are. You have no idea how powerful you are as a people. And they don't want you to know. Sovereignty itself is, of course, not subject to the law, for it is the author and the source of the law. That's what it says, and that's the way I'm going to leave it, because that's what it says in the law, in the Constitution. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because there are people in the government don't want you to let that come out of your mouth. They don't want you to say that you are a sovereign. They have got you thinking that if you use that word, if it comes out of your mouth, we're going to pounce down on you and drag you into a jail cell. Don't you use that word. But it's in the Constitution. Is it therefore an imperative necessity? It is therefore an imperative necessity to include the statement of legal options expressed by the United States Supreme Court in the United States versus Cooper Corporations 312 U.S. 600, 1941, in that the court stated, since in common usage, the term person does not include sovereign, when the IRS is talking about person, it does not include sovereign, statutes not employing the phrase are ordinarily construed to exclude it. The IRS never talks about sovereigns. It talks about persons that was created by the Congress, fictions, people who are not real. Interesting, very interesting. Let me see. I've been going for 26 minutes. I want to stop this at 30, so I don't want to make this too long. I just want you to, I'm going to have to do this in series. Thus, the statutory definition of persons found in 26 U.S.C. 7701 A1 and referred to in the statutory definition of taxpayer at 26 U.S.C. 7701 A14 does not reflect or include in any fashion a reference to American nationals of the Republic who are the identified sovereigns by birth in one of the 50 states of the Union or from parents who were born there. You are a sovereign by birth. That's what makes you a sovereign. God makes you a sovereign. God makes you a sovereign. I think I'm going to stop this here presently, and I'm going to have a break this down, give you a chance to breathe and digest and research what I'm conveying to you about the United States Supreme Court, what they say. This is the government saying this, not me. This is the government. So I want you to digest this here before I get into part 2. This was part 1. I'm going to do a part 2. And I would like for you to share this with other people. Get a like so that other people can get this information, get this knowledge, this education. At the present time, it's not costing you anything but your attention. All you have to do is pay attention so that you will become knowledgeable, you will become free, because knowledge